Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Sandy Smith, and joining us today from the Australian Defence Force Academy is Midshipman Daniel Males. We warmly welcome the family of Private Charles John Reace, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If you are able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament. Flowers of the forest, wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Charles John Reace. Charles Reace was born on the 20th of January 1893 in Toowoomba, Queensland. Known as Jack, he was one of 5 sons born to German Australians John and Mary Reace. There is some evidence to suggest that Jack was baptised Johann Karl Reace, but anglicised his name at some stage prior before the outbreak of the First World War. The Reace family remained living in Toowoomba throughout Jack's childhood. He attended the local school before finding work as a windmill fitter, plumber, and gas fitter. Reace enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 12th of February 1916 at Longreach, Queensland. He was allotted to the 3rd Pioneer Battalion with the rank of private. After 4 months of initial training in Australia, Private Jack Reace departed Melbourne in HMAT Wandilla on the 6th of June 1916. He arrived in Plymouth, England on the 26th of July 1916, and with the rest of the pioneers marched into Larkhill Camp for further training. While at Larkhill, Reace ran afoul of military authorities twice, first for going absent without leave for 2 days in September, and again for disappearing from camp for 4 days in November. He was sentenced to a total of 14 days field punishment number 2 for his absences. The 3rd Pioneer Battalion departed England for France in late November 1916. Pioneer battalions were infantry with light military combat engineer skills who were typically located at the very forward edge of the battle area. They were used to construct defensive positions, command posts, and dugouts, to prepare barbed wire defences, maintain roads and tracks, and to fight as infantry as required. After passing the bitter winter of 1916 to 1917 in the quieter section of the front around Armentières in northern France, the pioneers moved into Belgium in June 1917 as the Allied operations switched focus to the Ypres salient. They were engaged in every action undertaken by the 3rd Division, fighting as infantry alongside their light combat engineering. On the 4th of June, Jack was wounded in action while undertaking maintenance work and evacuated to the 9th Australian Field Ambulance, suffering from shell shock. A week later, he was transferred through the 2nd Australian Casualty Clearing Station to hospital for further treatment. He remained hospitalised until mid-September 1917, when he was released to the 12th Convalescent Depot to prepare for his return to the front. Jack rejoined the 3rd Pioneer Battalion on the 29th of October 1917, just as they were coming to the end of a week of recreation and training behind the lines in northern France. In early November, the battalion returned to Belgium, moving into the area between Nieppe and Warneton. A nearby tower at German-held Warneton gave the enemy a good observation point of the Allied forward areas, so the Australian battalion were instructed to complete their work under the cover of early morning fog or after nightfall to avoid casualties. On the 17th of November 1917, while undertaking repair and maintenance work outside Warneton, Private Jack Reace was killed in action. He was 23 years old. Jack's remains were buried at the military cemetery in Nieppe, France. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Charles John Reace, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.